you need to? Next on the list, unless you good?
I'm good.
All right, we're subbing in Mr. Vindman from Virginia.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you to all of my veteran colleagues. So, for those of you that don't know, I served 25 years in the United States Army as an infantry officer, a paratrooper, and as a JAG, and I deployed to Iraq. And my twin brother was wounded in an IED attack in Iraq, a Iranian manufactured explosively formed projectile. And so I will not be shedding a tear for the Iranian regime and the Ayatollah. I understand the threat, but I also understand that the wars are easy to start and hard to finish. And this one, let us not make a mistake, was a war of choice. What we heard yesterday was a series of lies about, and the story keeps changing, whether it was imminent or not, whether there had to be a response. This was a war of choice. This is a commitment of American blood and treasure to a conflict that we didn't need to be engaged in. And I know from my personal experience and from the experience of many of the folks that are here with me today that in our last wars in the Middle East, they were measured in years and American blood and American treasure. So no, Americans are stretched thin. Gas prices are up, utility bills are up, grocery prices are up. All while Republicans are giving billionaires handouts. And you know what's expensive? A war with Iraq. So earlier today, there's already a tracker on the projected cost of the war in Iraq, and it's going up $2,500 a second. It's well over, I think, $2.5 billion. Somebody can correct my math on that one, but it's been an hour since I last checked, so it's a lot more expensive. So instead of focusing on lowering costs at home, we're drifting towards another open-ended conflict in the Middle East, where 6 Americans have already been killed, 3 jets have been shot down by friendly fire. These losses are not just financial. We all know that have served in war. They're borne by families that receive a knock on the door in the dead of night. Congress must act now to check the president's power and choice of war and refocus our efforts on lowering costs for the American people and keeping our troops out of unnecessary danger. All of these things come at a cost, as we're expending hundreds of millions of dollars in interceptors. Those are coming at a cost of supporting our allies in Ukraine and preparing for contingencies in China, something that we all need to be concerned about. And that's why I'm joining my colleagues in the Democratic Veterans Caucus in supporting the War Powers Resolution. So we stop writing blank checks overseas while American families struggle here at home. And we stop risking American lives without a clear, lawful path forward. Again, this war is a violation of international law. It's also a violation of domestic law in that it was not authorized by Congress. There's no authorization for military force. Whatever lies my colleagues on the other side are saying and the administration are saying, those are facts. We owe it to the American people and to our troops to put a stop to this madness. Thank you. And with that, I have the privilege of introducing my friend and colleague, Congressman Seth Moulton.
Chris DeLuzio.
Oh, my friend and colleague, Chris DeLuzio.
Thanks. That's it. Thank you, Eugene. Thanks. I'm glad to be joined by my fellow Democrats and fellow veterans in the Congress. We all swore an oath in uniform. We've all sworn that same oath here in the Congress. We all love this country. And I think that's exactly why we see so clearly that this is a war that we do not need to be fighting. We do not need to be having Americans go fight. It's a war of choice. It's a foolish one. It is one the American people in the Congress have not authorized, have not said that Americans should go spill their blood and risk their lives for this. My standard for whether we send Americans to fight is a pretty straightforward one. I think it's one that makes a lot of sense. Can you look the American people in the eye, people of fighting age, and say this is something you should be willing to risk your life and die for? And what I see out of the Republicans and this president, they haven't even tried. And if they were to try, the American people would say no, because they understand this is not a war that we have to fight. Our generation of veterans, so many will bear the cost for as long as they are alive of the last Middle East regime change wars, the forever wars that so many of us served in, those two, especially Iraq, justified by lies. And what are we seeing? Billions of dollars spent, 6 Americans dead, more wounded. This administration has no problem finding billions of dollars to go fight a war the American people didn't authorize, while taking health care away from people, while taking away food stamps, while taking a sledgehammer to the VA that we will have to fight them to fund when these folks become veterans and come back home, who need health care and benefits that they've earned. That's who these folks are. So we're saying, no, let's pass this war powers resolution. And before we get into some legal argument, and by the way, this is a war, we get into a legal argument about the war powers resolution. What did Pete Hegseth today say? He called this war because of course it is. So they can have their legal arguments, they're wrong. They can have the facts on the ground, which is this is a war the American people do not want, a war that we are going to try to stop. That's what our Constitution requires. That's what our oath requires. Is Maggie here? Okay, I'm proud to introduce my friend from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Seth Bolden.
I got him before he got me. That's what Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief, said about launching a war with Iran and killing the Ayatollah. Nothing about protecting America, nothing about our allies, nothing about a strategy or an end goal, nothing about the 6 Americans already dead. Just all about himself. 6 U.S. service members are dead, and Donald Trump has signaled that more casualties are coming. That's acceptable to him. As long as Donald Trump is alive, seems like a good trade. The math works out, a good deal, the art of the deal. 6 dead for his life. It's not lost on any of us that this is the man who was more than happy to let someone else go in his place in Vietnam while he fabricated a sore foot to dodge the draft. The man who said troops are suckers for signing up and losers for getting killed, and made fun of John McCain for getting captured. It's a good deal to settle his personal vendetta, he seems to think, for 6 young Americans. This isn't a war for America. This is Trump's war for Trump. And every service member deserves a commander-in-chief who gives a damn about them, not just himself. You don't respect the troops, Mr. President, and you never have. Now I'm pleased to introduce my friend and colleague from California, Gil Cisneros.
Thank you, Seth. I am Congressman Gil Cisneros. I represent the 31st District in California. And like many Americans, I woke up on Saturday morning to the news that we are at war with Iran. The news came from the same president that campaigned on no more wars, the same one who bombed Venezuela just 2 months ago. But despite what he may think, Donald Trump does not have the ability to declare war. Only Congress does. As a Navy veteran, a current member of Congress, and former Undersecretary of Defense at the Pentagon, I know that is not the way that things are to be done. I've heard nothing from this administration that justifies engaging in conflict in the Middle East. Nothing. Our military is not Trump's private army. Our national security and the safety of our service members overseas are not tools for the president to call on when he's in the mood for a conflict. These are real lives on the line. As a result of this unprecedented and unauthorized war, we have 6 service members who have lost their lives, families whose lives are now altered forever. My thoughts go out to these families and loved ones of their service members that we have lost. We cannot allow their ultimate sacrifice to be taken for granted. We need to hear directly from the president about his plan to prevent another aimless and endless war. We need to hear about the details that prompted this illegal attack on Saturday. And we must pass this bipartisan war powers resolution now to rein in Trump's deadly overreach for the safety and security of every American. So thank you very much. And now I'd like to call on my current Californian and Navy veteran, Jimmy Panetta.
Thank you, Gil. Thank you, Gil. Good afternoon, everybody. Jimmy Panetta from the great state of California, Afghanistan war veteran 07 to 08. The U.S. conflict in Iran is about to be the least debated prolonged war in American history. But this is what happens when you have a president that commits troops to war without the consensus of the American people, without the coordination of Congress, and without complying with the Constitution.